Print, email, Facebook, Twitter. More. Warren Snowdon dumped by Labour Party faction ahead of next election. Veteran Labour MP Warren Snowdon has been dumped by the Northern Territory Labour's powerful left faction in what he has described as a kangaroo court decision. The decision to expel him, and 5 others, was made at a faction executive meeting in Darwin on Thursday night, where the ABC understands key left-wing union figures said they had had enough of Mr. Snowdon, and would support another candidate in Labour pre-selections next year. They give you a phone call and say, "Mate, there's a kangaroo court being held and you're kicked," Mr. Snowdon told ABC Radio Alice Springs. "I had a call from someone last night and I thought it was a bit weird, but nevertheless it's not an issue, it's a sideshow to the main event." Mr. Snowdon will now have to defend his federal seat of Lingiari without critical party support. Mr. Snowdon had been backed by the faction since he was elected as the member for the Northern Territory almost 3 decades ago, in 1987, later becoming the member for Lingiari. He has also been a long-time member of the Maritime Union, a heavyweight of Labour's left. It is believed the falling out had been building for some time, but reached boiling point at the Labour conference in Darwin on Saturday. It followed a motion put to delegates by Thomas Mair of the Maritime Union and Rolly Cummins from the CFMU to remove Territory Labour's State Secretary Kent Rowe, who is a member of the opposing right-wing faction. The ABC understands the left believed they had the numbers to topple Rowe, who is backed by Chief Minister Michael Gunner. However, they were outvoted 71 to 49, with members of the left, including Mr. Snowdon and NT member for Catherine Sandra Nelson, splitting from faction lines. Mr. Snowdon said the motion was unfair to Mr. Rowe, who is a Labour Party employee, not an elected member, and whose contract is due to expire in October. "I think it was a point in trying to humiliate him and to humiliate other people in the party. I don't think it's of any relevance to what's going on in the Territory or anywhere else," said. "This is just an exercise in bastardry, and something which myself and others were not prepared to contemplate or support, and we made that very clear." Mr. Snowdon said a number of people took umbrage with how Mr. Rowe was being treated by the motion. "It wasn't useful, it wasn't fair, it wasn't reasonable, it was harassment, it was bullying, it was all the bad things you don't want in a workplace, so we were making sure to protect his interests," he said. "Whether or not he's the best person in the long term, that'll be a decision made by the current admin committee." He said he had been in the party for more than 40 years and had been instrumental in setting up the left. "This is the first time I've seen this sort of behaviour and it's not something which I think is good," Mr. Snowdon said. Deepening divide within Labour. The ABC understands Mr. Snowdon is fed up with the Queensland CFMU's influence on NT party politics, and reportedly almost came to blows with the Queensland Secretary of the CFMU, Michael Barr, before Saturday's vote took place. Speaking about Queensland's influence in the Territory, Mr. Snowdon said, "I'd like to think that's not the case. I don't think we should accept any influence from outside forces." Mr. Snowdon said losing the support of less than 40 members, which comprised the left faction he established, compared to the broader NT Labour membership base of about 700, was not a big deal. "We're here to represent the interests of Territorians," he said. "Our job, our only job, really, is to make sure the Labour Party has good policies, to track the interest and support of the general community, that we have good government, to do our jobs well, represent Territorians in Canberra and make sure we address the issues that need to be addressed," he said. If the 68-year-old fights off a pre-selection challenger from within Labour, he will then have to take on high-profile Country Liberals Party candidate Jacinta Price, who will have major party backing during the next federal election. Mr. Snowdon currently holds the seat for Labour with a margin of 8.4%. Ms. Price will have the full backing of the CLP, who are confident she can flip the seat in the coalition's favour, while Mr. Snowdon may have to look outside the party and the union movement for financial support. The large geographical area of the Lingiari division, Australia's largest federal seat covering almost 99% of the NT, means resources are critical to Mr. Snowdon's re-election. Print, email, Facebook, Twitter. More.